Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And we are back.
I think Ashley always tries to catch it. Mike's on.
Wait, I'm going to wait
tries.
till they're not paying attention. Mike's on.
Turn those mics on.
Actually, she needed to catch you when you're doing the woo right now.
And
between
she's
the break.
all quiet over there, but I know inside she is just laughing.
She's like, with these guys, I can really mess with them. That's a cool thing.
She probably sits around and tells her friends, oh, yeah, I got these 3 goofballs. I just mess with them.
Because I do everything. Turn mics on when they're not listening, not paying attention. Go live when it's really not. Go live. Tell them we're dark when it's really live.
A day in the life of a producer, right?
That is correct. Well, she's got to keep herself entertained as well.
Yes.
It can't be just us 3.
Yeah, I know. God, I hope so. I hope not. So also, and of course, Brian referred to Chris, who's sitting right next to him. And so, Chris, let's talk a little bit about you. And, how'd you get your start? I know you're with Lindbeck, but what were you doing prior to that? And, how, what made you get into this insane world of real estate?
Really just started with Lindbeck right out of school. And like Brian said, we were talking just, throughout our careers at Lindbeck about starting our own business. And he kind of painted the picture really well about getting into home building. And
yeah, let's get into home building. It'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
We'll jump right in, build multi-million-dollar houses. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And how long have y'all been in business now?
I was going to ask, what year did they convince you?
Going on 3 years.
3 years and already doing multi-million-dollar houses. That's quite a testimony.
Yeah, especially 3 years ago. It's like, hey, let's get in the home building business. By the way, it's a really low point in the market right now.
That's actually the best time to get in.
Best time to get in, though.
The best time
Well,
to
they
get into real
started
estate.
out thinking that there was going to be a lot of people who were wanting proton therapy centers. So.
Yeah, that is true.
So I'm going to go out and spec out a proton therapy center, huh?
And like Brian said earlier, we started, changing toilets out and building decks. So that definitely was a reflection of the economy. So
well, and like you said though, I think every humble beginning that you end up getting right there, and I'm not saying humble by the way because Joe's from humble, so I leave out the H's a lot of times.
Yes.
But
into Houston later on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Visit a friend at the hospital.
Yeah. But one of the things that it ends up doing though is it actually provides you a lot more, and I guess. The ability to look at things a little bit differently. Whenever you're changing somebody's toilet, it's my first job. My father owned a series of ice cream shops, and I wanted to be the ice cream maker, right? And so my dad gets me and walks me into the stores and says, "Here's my son, put him to work. Start him like everybody else." And what was my first job? Cleaning toilets in an ice cream store. Not a lot of fun with the kids, by the way. But it gives you a new appreciation of how those are run and what ends up happening and what happens on the other side of the business and the little things that we take for granted in business. Same exact thing. The little things you take for granted in owning a home. When you're doing those little things, you end up being able to incorporate into a larger project for you right there.
Exactly.
And of course, when you're starting out, the small things, that thing about I don't really want to starve and I don't want my family to starve really motivates you that we're going to do these jobs and stuff like that. You're probably not doing a lot of decks and toilets anymore, which is probably a good thing.
No, but it's
they
not,
still come in the house though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not uncommon that on any day one or both or all 3 of us have a tool belt on and are pushing a broom or just doing whatever we need to do to keep a project moving and get an owner in a house. And so I like that about the 3 of us that no one's too big to do that, and I think the clients do as well.
Yeah, I remember I was running at Keller Williams and toilet got clogged up, and I said, I'm not going to call a plumber for, they're probably the easiest thing in the world to fix. I have no problem getting in there fixing our toilets.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just get it done, and if I pay $7,500 to have somebody come in and do it.
There went every plumbing sponsor we ever had a shot at.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, we don't have one right now.
That is correct. Well, now one thing though, you build a lot in the memorial area right there. What's going on in regards to permits and building permits or requirements associated with building, let's say in the villages or over in the memorial area? I mean, how does that whole process work right now? I know that there's a lot of redevelopment going on. I know there's a lot of older homes, and one of the things I think is always a conversation a lot of times people have is, do I tear down this home or do I redo the home, under the existing bones right there? How do you have those conversations? I guess, sort of a two-part. What's going on building permit-wise, and then, how you make those decisions as far as the homes?
I'll hit the second part of that. You're setting us up to get in trouble with the city if we complain too much about the permit process. But,
Why are we getting red flagged on every
Yeah.
project now?
this is strange.
What's going on?
No, the question of whether to remodel or build is one that we get a lot, and it's actually the first house we built was going to be a remodel, and at first we were going to remodel the bathroom, and they said, well, while you're here, why don't you just do the bedroom too? And if we're going to do the bedroom, we might as well do the kitchen, and if we're going to do the kitchen, let's just add on, and then so you get to the point where you say, well, what's going to be new and what's going to be old? So you're going to put all this money into refurbishing your house, but you still have a 40-year-old foundation, and you still have a 40-year-old structure. Do you
Right.
really want to put that money in, and maybe it's 75% of the cost of a new house? Would you rather just spend that extra 25% and tear it down? And so we've done 3 now that started as remodels, the discussions on the project started as remodels, and they just finally realized, man, this is not a good use of my money. I'm just going to tear it down and start over.
Right.
And I think a lot of that stemmed from people not having a good feel for what new construction costs.
Mhm.
And so they just had told themselves, well, remodel is the more prudent use of my money and my time, and so let's just go that route. And they quickly found out, man, we're getting really, really close to the cost of a new house.
Yeah, well,
Do I really
with
want
remodel,
old bones of a
you
house?
have
Right.
you have demolition, then reconstruction,
Yeah.
and it's never going to be brand new. Like you said, it's still a 40-year-old structure.
Yeah,
And so they forget the most of the expenses in the labor. So you had to demolish, then rebuild, and so you are pretty well talking the price of a new house. Now, some people don't. I don't want to discourage people remodeling.
yeah, and that's not a
because
blanket
there's
statement.
legitimate because sometimes
Right.
I'm just going to remodel the kitchen and the bathroom.
Sure.
Period. And we're stopping right
Sure.
there. And which makes sense for a lot of people. But when we're talking about the houses Memorial, some of those are built in the early '60s.
Yep.
They're the old ranch style.
Yep.
They want a high ceiling, and
Yep.
once you get to the point where you want to, I want a 10-foot ceiling, and you're going, well, there are 8s in here now. We have to raise the whole roof, and oh, by the way, there's a second story
Yep.
over here, and you can't do it. So I
Yeah.
mean, it just isn't prudent to try to reconstruct the whole thing.
And then the decision of where to stop if you're gonna remodel is always a tricky one. Someone wants you to replace their sink. Well, the next thing you know, you've ripped out all the plumbing. You're making a new sewer tap in the middle of the street, and you can always go further with the remodel. And so at some point you need to be, if you're going to go that route, which you said it's a very legitimate route, you need to be prepared to know where you need to stop, because you can always improve. And so,
As soon as you run
Yeah.
out of money,
Well,
that's where you stop.
and that's a very good point, because if you drive down some of the areas in Memorial in which homes were built in the 60s, 50s, et cetera, going furthermore to Tanglewood, et cetera. But you're right. I mean, look at the older styles of homes that were built back then. They were generally speaking ranch styles. Mm-hmm. They were a lot smaller. I mean, we didn't know. I mean, even in the affluent area back then, it wasn't the McMansions that you have today, right? So a lot of times, when you're trying to put you're looking at remodeling, and it's got those old bones, or more importantly, it just doesn't physically allow you to grow the new 5,000 square foot structure they want out of a 2,600 square foot.
It'll have to do with the foundation.
Right.
Of course, we talk a lot about foundations. Everything, just like life. Everything. If it has good bones, a good foundation, you can do it. But at a certain point, if you're going up or you're adding on, that foundation probably may not be able to handle it.
Yeah.
So,
right.
And that's part of the issues and stuff. So it's a big decision to make that. So the people, when they decide, well, we're going to tear our house down, I guess they just move out and come back like 12 months later. And
Well, Rob,
Yeah.
I don't think they could live there when it's being torn down, by the way. Yeah. Just
well, thank you
personal
for
opinion.
that, by the way. You have
Just a tip.
Just a tip right there.
Tip there.
command of the obvious.
Well, you laugh about it, but people will want to live in it when it's being remodeled, and it's not. If you're going to remodel your whole house, it's even a good project that runs smoothly. You don't want to live in it while you're working in every nook and cranny of the house, and
It's stressful.
Yeah.
Even the best ones are.
Yeah.
And so we try to encourage people to think about that, and if they really want that, then they need to have a contingency plan.
One of our great sponsors, Brett Hatfield, with Down Under Pools, was talking about even just the backyard being torn up. He says people just get so stressed because the workers they wake up in the morning and their workers are there, and they're trying to have a quiet cup of coffee or read the newspaper, and people are invading their home.
Yeah.
And it's very, and no matter how nice you are and how clean you are,
There's no other way to do
There's
it.
another way. I mean, I did the simplest of things this past week, which was change out all the flooring in my house.
and it's pretty disruptive.
And,
wasn't
I
it?
mean, it's the simplest of things when I say, compared to remodeling or adding on or tearing down or building, et cetera. And even on the simplest of things, I do want to give a big shout out to Keystone Carpets, by the way. They were absolutely excellent, carpet and tile. But even that, you literally are moving your home within your home. You're moving it all around to be able to free up all your space, to be able to put new flooring or new carpet down and put everything back in space. The great thing it's a great opportunity for you to clean out your home, by the way, which we did. But, it is stressful. I mean, the kids' lives are uprooted for the 5 days in which we had everything done. They couldn't find stuff. We couldn't find stuff. You have individuals showing up at 8 o'clock in the morning, leaving at 7 o'clock at night. You can't step on something, on tile, or you can't step on certain things for, 24 hours. And so,
You've got two active kids.
And we have two active
tough.
kids, right? So, we ate out all week last week, which is terrible. But, but one of the things that,
I know Regina likes it, though.
Yeah, exactly. Now, she's a great cook, but she likes to cook usually. But anyways, my kids love the new Chick-fil-A that opens, so they're always over there. But to get back to the normal thing,
yeah, right.
Okay,
yeah, is that even the simplest of things like that can uproot. So now you go into these conversations with individuals who want to remodel their homes and want to live there through massive remodels, and it's just not something that should be considered. I mean, I think they should be somebody like me on the simplest of things, or other individuals who have gone through it a lot of times to say, don't do it, don't fall into the trap, because you will just not be comfortable. That and the fact that you'll probably see a lot of things that are being done during the process you might not agree with, but it's part of the process.
Yeah.
We had a major remodel a couple years ago, in November, when an upstairs toilet decided it didn't like the idea of holding water anymore. And it was like 4 months that the house was torn apart. And I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky guy, but I tell you what, I was done. I was done with the whole, just we have a cement floor for, a living room.
Yep.
All that stuff. It was definitely, it wears on your nerves after a while.
Yeah. Well, not only that, and you're always wondering, when are they going to show up? When are they going to come back? And what's going on? Why can't I touch this? And, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. So that's a big conversation that we're going to have on
after the break.
On the next segment.
Time flies.
So, time flies when you're having fun. I do want to give a big shout-out to one of your individuals, Rob, Cindy White. She is out there right now. I just got through emailing her. Cindy, if you're listening, because I know you said you were, I apologize about the email I sent to you, but we'll talk about it later. Anyways, until the next break, we'll be right back.
Then let it rise for 100 years or two, and that's a recipe for making love. It doesn't need sugar, cause it's already sweet. It doesn't need an oven, cause it's got a lot of heat. Just add a dash of kisses to make it all complete. And that's the recipe for making love.